are on hand at Three Rivers Stadium here in Pittsburgh to see if the second half of the season can be a lot better for both the Packers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Hill, along with former Chicago Bear great Johnny Morrison. You know, Johnny, after the Steelers upset Cincinnati last week, they think they can get a 5- or 6-game winning streak going now.
Well, they really got the rushing game going, 238 yards, and Ernest Jackson got 132 of those yards. And every time we mentioned his name to Chuck Noll yesterday, he got a big smile on his face because Ernest Jackson didn't cost him a thing.
Now, as far as Forrest Gregg is concerned in his coaching career, the first half of the season for him have been very bad. The second half has been very good. Here we go with the second half.
That's right, and they're showing some signs. You just have to look at the record. Forrest Gregg teams traditionally come on strong in the second half of the season. Of course, the key is going to be Randy Wright. Despite a couple of critical mistakes last week, he has completed 95 of his last 153 passes, so he has gotten some vast experience in the past few games, and he's going to be the key for the Green Bay Packers. What we have here is two teams. They both need a victory badly.
It rained some just a little more this morning here in Pittsburgh. Cold and cloudy, temperatures in the high 40s, and we expect some showers later this afternoon. As we mentioned, the fans here in Pittsburgh take their football seriously. The 115th time that this stadium has been sold out. The Steelers have won the toss and have elected to receive. Al Del Greco set to kick off for Green Bay. Lupe Sanchez, number 28, back deep for the Steelers. Sanchez at the 1. And he fumbles the ball at the 45, and it's recovered by the Packers. Lupe Sanchez. Fumble recovered by Eddie Lee Ivory. Oh! Just amazing. What a magnificent return, only to lose the ball, Johnny.
An unbelievable play to open this football game. What are we in for today? Here goes Sanchez. Everybody pinched in for the Packers. A big mistake on the Packers from the outside men. And Sanchez went down the sidelines and would have put Pittsburgh in great position, but the ball is knocked loose by Del Greco. And Eddie Lee Ivory recovered for Green Bay, so it's the Packers' ball.
A 65-yard kickoff return only to lose the ball. The Packers get it back, 1st and 10. Randy Wright at quarterback, ball at the 25. This is Gary Ellerson. First contact made by Brian Hinkle. Take a look at the Pittsburgh Steeler defense. Up front, Keith Willis, Gary Dunn, Edmund Nelson, and the linebacking core of Merriweather, Little, Robin, and Hinkle.
Yes, those the linebackers are the strength of the Steelers, and they'll be all over the field today.
And the secondary of John Swain, Donnie Shell, Eric Williams, and Harvey Clayton will really be tested.
And it's good for the Steelers to have Donnie Shell back in the lineup.
Pick up a 4, 2nd and 6. Ellerson again, tripped up, loses the ball, and the Steelers are indicating that they have recovered. And they have. Robin Cole, the 10-year veteran from New Mexico, comes up with the fumble recovery. That's 2 turnovers, John, in the first minute and a half.
And 2 quick thrills for football fans, and it was John Swain who came up from his outside position here, and you can watch as he turns Ellerson in and makes the tackle. Down goes Ellerson, and Robin Cole recovers, so in a way, Sanchez's kickoff return holds up.
They get the ball back right just about where they fumbled it. That's right. Mark Malone at quarterback for the Steelers. The handoff up the middle, Ernest Jackson. Jackson to the 20-yard line, tackled by Brian Noble. The defensive alignment for the Packers. We don't know how long they're going to be out the way this game is going. Alfonso Carricker, Charles Martin, and Robert Brown. The linebackers, Harris, Scott, Dorsey, and Noble.
And Tim Harris is the key. He's a new guy in there the last couple weeks, has done very well. And Tiger Green, Ken Stills, had good games last week at safety.
Don't call him George. His name is Tiger Green. 2nd and 7. Draw play. Abercrombie. Walter Abercrombie from Baylor, tackled by Randy Scott. Now, I'll look at the Pittsburgh Steeler offensive alignment. We told you about Mark Malone, but the big changes, I think, are Sweeney and Weegee Thompson.
That's right. Weegee Thompson starting for Louis Lips, and of course that hurts the Steelers. He's the real speed man for Pittsburgh, and he will not play today. And there's the offensive line. Craig Wolfley back in there, and that made a difference last week. As we mentioned, the Steelers rushed for 238 yards. Anytime you rush for that kind of yards, you're going to win football games.
And, John, this is only the second time this year that the Steelers have been able to put their starting offensive unit on the field together.
And there's Mark Malone. Of course, he has the sore thumb that he operated with last week and got by. Once in a while, the ball will sail on him. But Mark Malone is a much better quarterback when they can run the ball. Of course, any quarterback is, but specifically, if you don't put Malone in tough situations, he's a much better quarterback.
Abercrombie again up the middle. So it would appear, as John Dorsey makes a tackle, it would appear, John, that that's the Steeler game plan, to run right up the middle, which so many teams have been successful against the Packers.
That's right, and they trap a lot. They have a big trapping game. The Packers on their defense, they run into that 3-4, and they don't do much changing around. They'll sit there and say, hey, come and beat us if you can, and that's what the Steelers are going to try and do. The Packers do use the 46, the old Bear defense, once in a while, but basically they're a 3-4 team.
Malone to pass on second down, over the middle. Incomplete. Pass intended for Preston Gothard.
Pass intended for Gothard. Incomplete.
Well, Preston Gothard doesn't get too many passes thrown his way, especially early in the ball game, but you can see that Randy Scott, number 55, is right there, almost intercepted pass. He put a big jam on Gothard. And you must bear in mind that Mark Malone cannot throw the way he wants to throw because of that thumb.
And the chilly weather may have something to do with it also. 3 wide receivers in now for the Steelers. Draw play to Abercrombie. Abercrombie gets down to the 7-yard line. Tackled by Bobby Leopold. Walter Abercrombie, along with Ernest Jackson. Both of them rushed for over 100 yards last week. And the Steelers' upset victory over the Cincinnati Bengals.
And the Steelers are going to take the field goal.
So Gary Anderson, whose longest field goal this year is 45 yards, and he is extremely accurate.
But there's an interesting stat right there. All of his misses have been on the first attempt.
But not today. Anderson comes through, and under cloudy skies, the Steelers have the lead, and we'll be right. Steelers have a 3-0 lead. Steelers, I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
Well, you can see this turnover with the opponents, 82 points, 15 takeaways. Pittsburgh has scored 37 points, so they're going to try and take advantage more of the takeaways.
Gary Anderson. All set to kick off for Pittsburgh. Walter Stanley and Ken Stills along with Kenneth Davis back to receive deep for Green Bay. Walter Stanley's had a little problem returning punts and kickoffs. Instead of going forward, he's been going back. But this is Kenneth Davis. Davis gets out to the 19-yard line, and there's a late flag. A late flag on the play, and once again we're seeing where there's some miscommunication on the part of the special teams of Green Bay. And the special teams are the teams that Forrest Gregg coaches.
Well, you can see he was reaching out to his side to catch the ball. You got to get right and behind the ball.
Illegal block, the back, number 31 on the return. 10 yards, first down.
So the Packers are going to start with bad field position.
Penalty then against Gary Ellis. And when you have a team like Green Bay, who's really been struggling, you really don't want to start off a drive from deep in your own end zone, and that's what they're doing. And the offensive line that will try to do it, the lineup, of course, James Lofton and Phillip Epps, 2 of the more dangerous receivers in the league. Offensive line young and improving every game, according to Forrest Gregg. 1st and 10 for the Packers. Ball at their own 8-yard line. Play action pass. Complete to Dan Ross. Dan Ross gets across the 15 to the 16-yard line. Tackled by Anthony Hinton. That's a pretty gutsy call. What do you think?
Yes, I think so. He delayed him right out of the tight end position, and you have to remember that last week the Packers drove 17 plays on their first possession, 91 yards for a touchdown, and they started from this area. Of course, they've already fumbled once, but the Packers are moving the ball. When you stop to consider they had 464 yards of offense to the 200 for the 49ers. They beat the 49ers in every way but the score. And this man made a couple of key mistakes. and also had some good play. So I think we're going to have a pretty good football game here.
2nd and 1. Right down the middle of Paul Caruth, and he can't hang on. Almost intercepted by John Swain.
Nice pass intended for Caruth. Broken up by Swain.
This is the case where the Steelers went to that 3-5 defense, and they brought him out of the backfield straight down, and Swain in the 2-deep zone was there and was able to make the hit, almost made the interception. And that time, Brian Hickle was covering man for man on Ross all the way down the field. So Brian Hickle gets some pretty tough assignments with this new defense.
And because of the Steelers' inability to cover this year, Green Bay thinks that they can pass. But now they decide to run. This is Paul Caruth. Caruth over the 20-yard line, picks up enough yardage for the first down. Tackle there made by Harvey Clayton. So Paul Caruth is a young man that Forrest Gregg really likes.
Yes, he has come over from the USFL and rushed for 52 yards last week, and that was his biggest day. And you can see 5.8 average. That's not bad.
And Forrest has said that Paul Caruth has been blocking better than any running back he's seen in Green Bay for a long time. So at the 21, it's 1st and 10. Ellerson. Oh, look at Robin Cole. Good defense by Pittsburgh. Robin Cole along with David Little.
Well, the inside linebackers put the clamps on that one, didn't they? Let's watch 50 and 56 as they just float over it. As he turns back up the field, Ellerson, there it is, 50 and 56, putting the clamps on and jolted the ball loose right there.
Ball popped loose. Gary Dunn comes over and makes the recovery. The Steelers have it. This is the 3rd turnover of the game, the 2nd turnover by the Packers. The Steelers have the ball 1st and 10 at the Green Bay Packer 21-yard line. Jackson knocked out of bounds at the 19-yard line by Randy Scott. So that tough, aggressive Steeler defense has forced yet another turnover. A good hit then by Robin Cole.
It sure was, and of course that's been one of the Packers' problems all year, is the turnovers have really hurt them. So it'll be interesting to see how Ernest Jackson does. He says he likes it here. Here's a guy, as you know, who's rushed for 1,000 yards the last 2 years, and he's been with 3 different teams. Buddy Ryan let him go in Philadelphia. He has a kind of a bitter taste about that, but he's playing now, so he's happy.
Here's Malone. Throws quick to Weezy Thompson. Thompson gets in for the score. Weezy Thompson, an 18-yard touchdown reception from Mark Malone.
And he put a little move on Mark Lee right there at the line of scrimmage and got inside of him and then took down the field and finally is hit by 3 Packers, but not before he goes into the end zone. That's the advantage of a big, tall, wide receiver. He was able to fall forward into the end zone. Good move he put on Mark Lee.
And a good extra point conversion by Gary Anderson. He's kicked 132 straight now, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are rolling. By Frank O'Hara set the tone for the era of the steel curtain, but this afternoon all they want to remember is Weezy Thompson and his 18-yard touchdown reception from Mark Malone. It's now 10-0 Steelers.
A quick pass, and he got a great move on Mark Lee, got to the inside of him, just beat him one-on-one, and then bulled his way into the end zone. The Steelers on the move.
Weezy Thompson. As the Steelers kick off, Walter Stanley, Gary Ellerson. This is Stanley in the end zone. Stanley gets to the 20-yard line, and that's where the Packers will take over 1st and 10. Knocked out of bounds by Mike Merriweather. 10-0 here. New Orleans leading. Atlanta leading New England 3-0. No score Tampa Bay and Buffalo. Houston and Miami, Cincinnati, Detroit. The Lions leading there. All these scores just getting underway. Scoreless Cleveland and Indianapolis. Philadelphia and St. Louis. Dallas and New York. That's a big ball game there. Quarterback. Kenneth Davis in the backfield now for Green Bay. a draw play to Paul Caruth. Caruth gets away from Harvey Clayton, but he can't get away from two Steeler linebackers. Brian Hinkle and Donnie Shell coming up making the tackle.
Well, Forrest Gregg made a move. He's taken Gary Ellerson out of the game after the fumbles, and he is looking at a situation he has seen a lot this season. His Packers normally get behind and are fighting from behind, especially earlier in the season. So they'll have to do it again, 10-0, as Paul Caruth came up with a pretty decent run there.
And Kenneth Davis is a young man that Tony Dungy, the defensive coordinator for the Steelers, told us yesterday he really thinks that the Packers get more explosive when Davis is in, and he is right now. Gary Dunn in on the sack. That's the 21st sack of the season for the Steelers.
Gary Dunn is number 67. He just bulled his way in, went by Hallstrom, and just put the clamps as Randy Wright couldn't find anybody down the field. And the Steelers with the four-man rush. Here is James Lofton, who had a step, but when the quarterback is being pressured trying to find his way down the field, he just didn't have the time as the Steelers off the four-man rush get to Randy Wright.
Now the Steelers in a prevent defense. The Packers from the shotgun, 3rd and 19. Across the middle, and it is incomplete, intended for Paul Caruth. Brian Hinkle in again defending for Pittsburgh, along with Greg Cobb. And if the Packers aren't careful right now, and Pittsburgh goes down and scores another touchdown, and they could be in deep, deep trouble.
Yes, and these Steeler fans, this stadium is rocking. They got some early thrills. They've had some rough moments over the season in the past couple of years. So many people in this town are used to the old 70s Steelers, and it just isn't that way anymore.
Don Bracken punting. Rick Woods. Woods gets to the 43-yard line before he's tackled, and that's where the Steelers will take over 1st and 10. Tackle there made by Albert Watts. You talk about coming to 115 times this stadium has been sold out. We don't know where he came from, but oh, I know, Halloween. They're still celebrating here, right?
That's right. It was a long party the whole weekend.
That's the only way to do it. Oh my goodness, this is one of the great stadiums in all of pro football. Three River Stadium in Pittsburgh. The Steelers have the lead 10-0. Malone, the draw play to Ernest Jackson. Jackson to the 48-yard line. Brian Noble, Tim Harrison on the tackle. And the Steelers have always done well here at home.
And especially against the NFC, 20 wins and 5 losses. And did you notice Ernest Jackson that last time? His legs kept moving. That was a nice run. He ended up with 5 yards out of a lot of backs who had been stopped right about the line of scrimmage. So Ernest Jackson, he's about 10 pounds overweight. He said we're not supposed to tell anybody, but
but you know, you talk about him keeping his feet moving. That's why he gained 1,000 yards for 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Pick up a 5. Oh my goodness. You talk about moving them out in the middle of the line. John Dorsey making the tackle. I think the linebackers for the Packers today are going to get a lot of action.
Preston Gothard had to make it. He's the tight end. He had to block the nose guard that time, and he did a heck of a job. It was wide open up the middle. Preston Gothard is primarily a blocker, but he's caught 10 passes this year. That's more than any Steeler tight end has got since 1983. So there's 2 ways to look at that. But did he throw a block that last time?
Oh, that's when Benny Cunningham caught 33 passes that particular year. But in Chuck Noll's philosophy, the tight end is used to block first and make receptions second. 3rd and 1. Ball at the 47 of Green Bay. Ernest Jackson. That's another first down for Pittsburgh. Tackle made by Charles Martin.
Do you think that Ernest Jackson has had anything to do with the improvement in the rushing? Without Jackson, they averaged 65 yards a game, and since he's come here 5 games ago, they're averaging 170 yards rushing, and he has 337 in 5 games. So he has really made a difference. And how they could pick him up for nothing, that's one of the mysteries of the world. I
think impact player is appropriate here. On first down. Jackson again. Gets across the 45 to about the 44-yard line. Charles Martin making the tackle for Green Bay.
I always like to watch the Steelers because Chuck Noll, he believes in that philosophy that the quarterback has the best handle on what's going down on the field. And Mark Malone is one of the few quarterbacks left in the NFL who is calling his own plays. Now, Chuck, as you know, he has a short list and he has a selection of 2 or 3, 4 plays in every situation on the field. But at least the quarterback is calling his own plays. It's got to be more fun.
The screen pass. This is Walter Abercrombie. Abercrombie picks up enough yardage for the first down, and the Steelers are moving again. A pickup of 13 yards, tackle made by Ken Stills.
And the offensive line of the Steelers give them a lot of credit because watch Webster, 52, and Terry Long, 74. They wait, then they go out, and there's 2 Packers there to make the tackle. One of them is Scott. Now watch the 2 blocks. Down goes 2 men with Mike Webster's block along with Terry Long. So that's the way they draw it up on the board, and that's the way it happened. Of course, Webster's been around a long, long time.
12 years from Wisconsin. Here's Ernest Jackson again. Jackson gets to the 30-yard line. Tackle made by Brian Noble. You talk about this offensive line for Pittsburgh. We mentioned this is only the 2nd time all year long that this particular first-string unit have been able to start a game.
That's right. You've had a lot of injuries, and they're very small. Look at how tall they are. Even their size, 265 for 3 of them, 1 258, 6'1", 6'2", 5'11". They're a small offensive line, but they do a lot of trapping, and they require their linemen to run a lot. So the shorter and smaller you are, the better you can do that.
Jackson again right up the middle. Oh my goodness. Robert Brown making the tackle. The nose tackles for Green Bay, Charles Martin, is just having all he can handle now.
That's right. Mike Webster wheeled him right out of there that time and created the hole. And I thought it was really interesting what Webster told us yesterday, that winning last week was more fun than when they were winning in the 70s. He says, because now, he says, I appreciate a victory more than I did then. We got used to winning. He said, I really enjoyed that victory last week. And I thought it was an interesting observation by Webster.
That's right. A lot of people find that hard to believe, and not one accepted, but he's a good one. Play action pass. Malone. Weezy Thompson is the nearest receiver, being covered there by Mark Lee. Pressure then put on by Charles Martin. So it is 4th down. Gary Anderson comes in now. And Anderson, you talk about someone that's almost a sure shot. His longest field goal this year is 45 yards. He has missed once from 50 yards. But as you can see from this particular range, he is 7 of 8. Ball will be spotted at the 32-yard line. This will be a field goal attempt of 42 yards. And he mishandled it. Harry Newsome mishandles it. He tries to throw the pass, and it is incomplete. So Harry Newsome mishandled the snap from center. He threw the ball, looked like it was Edmund Nelson trying to make the reception.
And Newsome was down on the field. It was a little bit low. Actually, it was playable, but he just couldn't get the handle, and Anderson chose not to try and kick it. He thought sure it was going to be blocked. So here goes Newsome, and then he gets hurt after he throws the ball away, and he is still down on the field.
In the 4 years, the Challenge for Children's program.
So while they're taking care and watching, Harry Newsome will hurt. Tim Harris made the hit on Newsome. The Packers get the ball 1st and 10 at their own 25-yard line. Randy Wright at quarterback. Green Bay back to pass. Dan Ross across the middle. Mike Merriweather along with David Little in on the tackle for Pittsburgh. And it looks like that the Packers are going to get away from their philosophy of trying to run and pass more.
Well, they're down 10-0, and it's not a desperate situation yet. As you look at New Orleans, 14-0 over San Francisco. The interesting thing here is that the Steelers do respect James Loft, and 53 Hinkle is out there most of the times out in front of James Lofton. Not in this particular formation because they have 2 wide receivers at the same time on the same side.
Caruth and Kenneth Davis in the backfield. And this is Davis. First contact made by David Little, and there is a flag on the play. You know, it's really interesting that whenever the Steelers meet a team that has a pretty good running back, they always come to the forefront and meet the challenge.
There is the penalty. So the Packers are plagued by penalties. They had 14 last week. 3 of them were declined, but still they had 14 penalties.
Offense, number 81, 10 yards, second down.
That's referee Chuck Heberling. He's substituting for Bob McElwee, who pulled a hamstring muscle in a game last week.
Was he running for a touchdown or what?
Probably trying to catch someone.
Trying to get out of the way, probably.
Yeah, that's it. But we wish him a speedy recovery.
So the Packers have a long situation now, second and about 13.
Eddie Lee Ivers checks into the backfield now with Paul Caruth. Right, goes to Eddie Lee, but he can't hang on. Eddie Lee is hit by Brian Hinkle.
Incomplete. Third down, 13.
Of course, Eddie Lee Ivory is their long pass situation man who has become a jack of all trades. The pass was a little bit behind him, but he should have had it. Packers trying to exploit over the middle against the way the Steelers play that with their linebackers dropping off. Now, they played a bunch of defense. Tony Dungy has all kinds of defenses in his repertoire. Here they have a 3-man rush now and 5 linebackers.
With Randy Wright in the shotgun formation. Complete to Walter Stanley. Stanley gets to about the 39-yard line before he's hit there by Rick Woods.
Down by Woods.
But you know, when you watch someone like Randy Wright, you can really see, we've seen, this is the 3rd game we've seen this year. You can see how he's really improved.
Well, he moves around the pocket very well, and he hits Stanley. And the ironic thing is that Stanley averages 22 yards per catch. He has a much higher average per catch than anybody else on the team.
You saw the Giants score, and Danny White is out of that game with a wrist injury. X-rays are being taken. As soon as we find out, we'll pass it on to you. This is Caruth. Caruth to the 42, tackled by Gary Dunn.
Down by 4.
Gary Dunn has done a good job in the middle. That time they tried to move him out. He just overpowered him, made the tackle. And, of course, he was on a couple of the Steelers Super Bowl teams. He's been around a while, and he knows the taste of victory and the agony of defeat the last couple of years. But the Steelers are showing some real signs.
The Steelers now, it looks like they're going to go in what they call their press defense because Anthony Hetton is in and Eric Williams is out.
And yes, you have the 5 linebackers. Hinkle is right over the tight end. He's got to cover the tight end, Dan Ross.
And Wright can't get away. Mike Merriweather, the 2-time All-Pro linebacker, chased Randy Wright down from behind and made the tackle. In talking to Forrest Gregg yesterday, when we were talking about this press defense of the Steelers, he knew exactly what they were going to try and do. The only problem is, can you execute against it?
And that time they did not, as Merriweather will usually blitz on that situation. He is outside of Brian Hinkle, 53. Now we see that the Steelers are in the 3-man front.
Flag on the play. Looks like it will be motion against Green Bay.
Looked like the right side of the offensive line for the Packers moved a little bit too soon.
Ball start, offense, number 73, 5 yards, 3rd down.
That's against Alan Weingrab.
Down 13.
And you look at the left of your screen, you'll see Weingrab. He's number 73. He moved a little bit too soon. Therefore, the penalty, and now a 3rd and long situation. Let's see how the Steelers handle it. Three rushmen. Actually 4.
But plenty of time for Wright to throw, and he does. Complete to Walter Stanley. Stanley gets to the 45-yard line, and no more. Harvey Clayton in on the tackle for Pittsburgh. So that rough Steeler defense comes through again and stops the Packers. Don Bracken will come in to kick for Green Bay. And Rick Woods, number 22, back to receive deep for the Steelers. The Steelers have a 10-0 lead. 18-yard touchdown pass from Malone to Weezy Thompson and a 25-yard field goal by Gary Anderson.
The thing you have to remember is that Bracken kicks returnable punts. Oh, not that time.
The ball bounces at the 2-yard line and goes into the end zone. And it will come out to the 20-yard line. So with 7 seconds left to go in the first period, we'll be right back. One of the main concerns for Chuck Noll was after the victory over Cincinnati last week was a letdown against Green Bay. Hasn't happened.
I don't think so. I think when you're 2-6, it's hard to have a letdown. And they still feel they have a chance to make the playoffs. And, of course, there's only been one touchdown in this game, and it was a big one by Weezy Thompson, who's got some big shoes to fill. And he beat the Packers' best defensive back, Mark Lee, with an inside move and then bulled his way into the end zone. The Steelers right now have control of this football game.
That touchdown pass was good for 18 yards. 7 seconds left to go in the first period. And turnovers have been the stir of the game right from the opening kickoff, when Lupe Sanchez, after a 65-yard kickoff return, fumbled the ball. 7 seconds. First and 10 now for Pittsburgh. Ball at their own 20. As Walter Abercrombie dives over to the 22-yard line. Hit by the middle of the defensive line for the Green Bay Packers. Tackle made by Randy Scott. So that is the end of the first period, with the Steelers leading 10-0 football league. Not one time, because he may have to this afternoon, because Harry Newsom, who was injured earlier or later in the first quarter, has gone in. He injured his left ankle. So Gary Anderson may be pressed into duty. But there is pressure on the Packer defense as they trail 10-0. 2nd and 7. Malone. Out of the backfield is Ernest Jackson. First contact is made by Randy Scott. And Ernest Jackson, you know, a lot of people have criticized him, Johnny. They said he can't catch, he can't block, he can't run, he can't do anything. But look at him today.
Well, anybody who can rush for over 1,000 yards can certainly run the football. He hasn't been the greatest blocker throughout his young career, but he's improved on his blocking, and I think he's a little bit inspired. The Steelers, you know, picked him up and they said, you're going to be in there, you're going to play, and he's done the job for him. So we'll see how he blocks. We'll watch him closely. That time he got a couple extra yards out of that. He avoided that tackle by Scott and got a couple extra.
Jesse Britt comes in now for Jackson. It was Jackson's second reception this year.
Ehrenberg is in there.
And Malone tries to go to him. And it is ruled incomplete. Coverage there by Tiger Green.
Boy, it looked like he caught the ball to me. And we're going to have a 4th down situation unless they... Now, well, his hands were underneath the ball. Did that ball squirt out? It's very hard to tell.
4th down and 1.
So it's now 4th down. The offensive unit, or rather 3rd down. The offensive unit is still on the field for Pittsburgh. Now, I saw referee Chuck Heberling give a 1st down indication.
The play stands.
Okay, the play stands. It was ruled a reception.
I thought it was kind of strange because Chuck Heberling had indicated 1st down. There was a 4th down marker up on the field, but they ruled it as a completed pass. And it is a 1st down. Ball at the 32-yard line of the Steelers. This is Jackson again. Man, he gets to that corner in a hurry, doesn't he?
He sure does.
Tackle made by Brian Noble and Randy Scott. I was about to say, I'm sure that the people here in Pittsburgh, along with Chuck Noll and the coaching staff, hopes that history follows Ernest Jackson wherever he goes, because he's been a 1,000-yard rusher every place he's been. He keeps going to different places. He's tired of moving around. He's tired of selling his house. He said next time he's going to let the club he goes to sell his house. Maybe that'll be here, the Steelers. Abercrombie to the 35-yard line. Charles Martin making the tackle for Green Bay.
Tackled by Darcy and Martin.
12 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in the first half. The Steelers have a 10-0 lead over the Packers, doing all the scoring in the first period. 25-yard field goal by Gary Anderson and an 18-yard touchdown pass to Ouija Thompson.
And wholesale substitutions for the Packers now for their defense. It's supposed to be a prevent, but it doesn't look like it. Blitz.
Toss off to Abercrombie. He has a little running room. Oh, good open field tackle by Ken Stills. A pickup of 14 yards, and if Ken Stills doesn't come over and make that tackle, Abercrombie is off to the races.
And Mike Webster, give him some great credit. He threw a great block because they were blitzing from the right screen, and they just threw out here in the flat. And here comes Webster, 62, with the block, and that allowed Abercrombie to get some extra yards out of it. And down the field, the Steelers go first down.
Walter Abercrombie, Ernest Jackson, both rushed for 100 yards last week. Both are doing exceptionally well again today. It's Abercrombie. Tackle made by Brian Noble. When you think about these linebackers for the Packers, it's really the strength of their defensive unit. They're big, they're strong, and they maneuver around very well.
For tall guys, they're tall. You know, Noble's about 6'4", Tim Harris 6'5". Randy Scott's not all that tall, but Dorsey's also tall, about 6'4", so they have big, tall linebackers.
As is Tim Harris, number 97, who told us yesterday, "I love to hit." He says, especially quarterbacks. He'll get his chance. Here comes Harris now, but he gets blocked out. Quick pass. And it's complete to Thompson. Oh, good reception by Ouija Thompson. Because he was covered very well by Mark Lee.
Mark Lee was right there, but this was a case of Ouija Thompson being stronger and taller and bigger. And you'll see number 22, Mark Lee, right there on the coverage, and it looks like he has the ball at first, and Ouija Thompson just kind of stole the ball right back and took it down. First down for, no, not first down, I'm sorry, it's 32.
Ouija Thompson told us yesterday that he hopes that the Steeler offensive attack won't change simply because he is in a back, and he's always been a backup, simply because he's in this week. And so far it hasn't. Dan Reeder, number 40, is in now. Malone goes to Calvin Sweeney. Tackle then made by Mark Lee. Calvin Sweeney from the University of Southern California, who didn't catch a pass at all last week. I was kind of teasing him about it yesterday. I said, "Hey, man, you didn't catch a pass last week." He said, "It won't happen tomorrow. I will get one."
Well, he was right.
Sweeney is a very, very fine receiver. Unfortunately for him, throughout his career, he's always played behind some great receivers. We have an update on Danny White. As the Giants lead the Dallas Cowboys 3-0, he has suffered a broken right wrist. So Danny White is out. Here's Ernest Jackson. Jackson to the 25-yard line. Brian Noble making the tackle for Green Bay. The Steelers say they're going to run, and that's what they've been doing so far, Johnny.
They certainly have, and the fact that, you know, Malone is calling the play, so let's give him some credit. He's mixed the runs and the passes. He threw twice on first down, so he has mixed it up a little bit. And when you move the ball like this and you rush down the field, the quarterback, he's got his choice of what he can do, and it really makes it a lot nicer. Mark Malone's gone through some tough times, you know, when you kind of coming through the tradition of Terry Bradshaw. Steeler fans get spoiled by quarterbacks.
The pass is almost intercepted. Intended then for Preston Gothard. Knocked away by Randy Scott.
Well, Mark is yelling down there to Gothard, and apparently he was crossed up a little bit. He said, "Hey, you got on the pattern a little bit differently." And actually, he threw it into a lot of traffic. There were 3 Packers around, so you can take a look at the pass here, and the Steelers are fortunate that the pass was not intercepted by Green Bay.
And you saw Malone kind of chewing Gothard out there just a little bit. That's what a quarterback has to do from time to time.
Boy, does he look a lot like Tom Selleck to me. It looks like Tom Selleck winning a football. You take a good look at Malone.
He has a career in acting when his playing days are over. But he's back this afternoon playing. Oh, Mark Lee almost comes up with the interception. There's a flag on the play. Pass intended for Calvin Sweeney. So Mark Lee, who, according to some of the Steelers was going to be picked on a little bit this afternoon. Weetie Thompson's already beating him for a touchdown. Comes up with a good defensive effort.
Now that pass was thrown a little off the target, too. They had a chance for the completion, but it was not as accurate as Malone would like it to be. And it appears that the penalty is going to go against Pittsburgh.
That's Gary Hayes talking to referee Chuck Eberly.
Holding. Offense. Number 62. 10 yards. Third down.
That penalty is against Tunch Ilkin.
Third down, 17.
First Pittsburgh penalty this afternoon.
Okay, he's at the left side of your screen. Right there, can you get a good look at it? Right there, you can see he's kind of hanging on a little bit there.
Holding on to Tim Harris, linebacker number 97. Okay, 3 wide receivers now in for the Steelers. 3rd and 17. Oh, Abercrombie on the draw. Oh, what a run right up the middle. Tiger Green made the tackle. The middle of that defensive alignment for the Packers just isn't there.
Well, there was a nice trap across there. Mike Webster threw a good block, and so did Long. Everybody, as Abercrombie went right up the middle, did not get the first down, but they're now well within field goal range.
And Anderson is in to attempt the field goal. The ball will be spotted at the 31. This will be a 41-yard field goal attempt. Right down the middle. 8 minutes and 13 seconds left to go in the first half. And the Steelers got beat on the last-second field goal and attacked the referee.
I'd say he's in some trouble.
And the Packers are in trouble here in Pittsburgh as Walter Stanley gets it about 6 yards deep in the end zone. Well, John, you know, the Packers are down now. I mean, down and down big, 13-0. What do you do?
Well, I say you don't leave your game plan yet. It's 13-0. One touchdown makes it a 13-7 ball game, so it's not out of reach. It's just that the Packers have got to do what they've been doing the last couple of weeks, and that is mixing it up and get the running game going a little bit. Last week they were able to run the ball, but the Steelers' defense has been real tough. But it's not out of hand, obviously. Anybody who follows football knows they still got the shot.
This is Kenneth Davis, and Kenneth Davis takes a shot. He takes a shot then from Anthony Hinton.
Down by 10.
We talked about Kenneth Davis at the beginning of the game. Tony Dungy says he hates to see him in there so much. And when we put it to Forrest Gregg, his explanation of why Davis wasn't in so much is very simple.
That he's still learning the system, and that there's a lot of mistakes that he still makes, and that he'll improve as time goes on. So Tony Dungy was hoping he wasn't going to play too much. He didn't get his wish because he's playing more than he has this season.
And Davis is still in the backfield now with Paul Carruth. Eddie Lee Ivory checks into the game now for Philip Epps. It's a draw play to Davis. Davis gets to the 25-yard line. David Little and Mike Merriweather in on the tackle for Pittsburgh.
Well, they're having some trouble with their lead back blocks. That time Carruth missed, and he has been doing a good job of blocking, and David Little just avoided the block and made the tackle. So it still boils down to blocking and tackling, and no matter what, if you don't do that, you're not going to gain yards. So now the Packers are in another third down passing situation. The Steelers are ready for it.
4 wide receivers in now for Green Bay. James Lofton is in the slot. A draw play to Carruth. You surprised that they call a draw play?
Well, if it had worked,
Yeah.
we can always second guess it. 6 yards, I think you're better off normally to try and at least throw the control type of pass, 6-8 yards, but they're trying to catch him off balance. And had it worked, Forrest Gregg would have seemed like a genius. But now the Steelers are going to get the ball back, and apparently in pretty good field position.
You see Don Bracken blowing his hands just a little bit there. It is a little cool. Rick Woods back to receive for the Steelers. 6:04 left to go in the first half. High punt angling away from Woods. Ball bounces at the 41 and takes a Packer bounce. Goes out of bounds at the 36-yard line. 5 minutes and 50 seconds left to go. The Packers have yet temperature at 16 below and time running out. Bart Starr's 1-yard touchdown plunge gave the Packers their 3rd straight NFL title. A 21-17 victory over the Dallas Cowboys in what is now known as the Ice Bowl. Fond memories for Forrest Gregg. But oh, I'm telling you, those memories are not, that's all they can do now is just dream about the past.
You know, an ironic thing about that play was that was the first time Starr had run a quarterback sneak that season. And they win the title on a play they had not run. Of course, quarterback sneak's not a fancy play, but...
Oh, but it was so timely, though. The Pack needs some timely plays on defense first to get the ball away from the Steeler offense. Brian Noble in the backfield gets a hold of Ernest Jackson and puts him down. That's what they need, along with some help from Robert Brown. Now, that's what the Packers need to do in order to get back into this ball game. Get a little enthusiasm going.
That's right, and Noble blitzed right into the play. He had that one smelled out, and nobody blocked him. He got in, and as you can see, second on Packers in tackles with 52.
Loss on the play of 3 yards. 2nd and 13 from the 33. 5:20 left to go in the first half. Malone with good time. Throws. Intended for Weegie Thompson. But there is a flag on the play as Mark Malone threw the ball behind Thompson, but there is a flag.
I think that maybe, I'm not sure, there might have been a late hit by one of the Packers on Malone after he threw the ball. Brian Noble was standing around there. I don't know if he is the culprit, but we'll soon find out.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 91 on the defense, 15-yard, first down.
So Brian Noble makes a great play, and then a play that was not so great. As you can see him coming from the left, 91. And boy, he hit him low too, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh.
He had his head down. He probably claimed, hey, I didn't know if he'd gotten rid of the ball yet, but that's a no-no, and a big play. It's a first down for the Steelers.
At their own 48-yard line. Steelers leading 13-0. This is Abercrombie. Abercrombie gets into Packer territory before he's tackled by Tim Harris. This is a typical Steeler ball game, wouldn't you agree? Doing just what they want to do, which is running inside, running outside, trap.
That's true, and the big thing for Pittsburgh Steelers in this game is that they have great field position. I don't think they've ever gotten the ball on first down inside their own 35 or 40-yard line. The fumbles, they've gotten coverage and gotten possession in Green Bay territory. Here they started from their 40-yard line. They've had great field position. That makes a big difference.
Abercrombie changes directions. Oh, he gets climbed on his back. Charles Martin tried to bulldog him down. And we're live. Three River Stadium here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm Jim Hill along with Johnny Morris. The Steelers leading the Green Bay Packers 13-0. A little over 4 minutes left to go in the first half. And the Packer defense has really started to come to life. They have a little enthusiasm in them now. Huh?
Well, they're making a big play once in a while. However, this is the big one. We'll know whether they came along on this drive right here. It's third down, a little more than 10 yards. Mark Malone on the spot now.
And 6 defensive backs in for Green Bay. Complete to Rich Ehrenberg. Ehrenberg tackled by Mark Lee. So the Packer defense on this particular series has met the challenge and will force the Steelers to punt. And Harry Newsom, who injured his left ankle in the second quarter, is coming back into the game, and he will punt. Walter Stanley will be back beat for the Green Bay Packers, and we've seen Stanley in recent weeks have a little trouble finding out which direction to run in. Newsom. The ball lands at the 11-yard line and just gets into the end zone. So the Packers will have the ball first and 10 at their own 20-yard line, and they have yet to accomplish it. 1-7. The Steelers have a record of 2-6. Both teams trying to get started in the second half of the season. Randy Wright at quarterback. Throws for James Lofton, incomplete, into and out of his hands. Tackle there made by Brian Hinkle. The Packers, who have yet to get on the scoreboard this afternoon. 3 minutes and 1 second left to go in the first half, and you can see right here that turnovers have really killed them. Their first 2 possessions. The last 3 possessions, look at where they start from, John. No further than their own 25-yard line.
And that's one of the differences in this football game. And Randy Wright could have had a completion that time. He threw behind James Lofton again. Granted, he was moving forward in the pocket. He does have a kind of a nice knack of moving around the pocket, but so far his accuracy level has been down.
Again, it is incomplete. Intended one more time for Lofton, one more time Brian Hinkle defending.
Well, there was another pass that was off the mark as New Orleans leads San Francisco 14-10. Atlanta, New England tied. Tampa Bay 13-0 over Buffalo. Miami and Houston 7-0. Detroit and Cincinnati 7-7. Hey.
Look at Cleveland leading Indianapolis. Philadelphia over St. Louis. Dallas without Danny White, who suffered a broken right wrist, leads the New York Giants 7-3. Man, what a tough year this has been on quarterbacks. Been a tough game on Randy Wright. He starts out in the shotgun and comes into the conventional under the center position. Oh my, he's just having a horrible time now. That time it was a 1 bounce to Philip Epps.
And he's limping off to the sideline, so there may be something wrong with Randy Wright. Obviously, right now, there's something wrong with his arm because he's not throwing the ball real well. It's not that cold here in Pittsburgh, is it? I think it's a pretty nice day.
I don't think so. Besides, if you're from Green Bay, this is like going to the beach.
That's right.
So Don Bracken is in to punt now for the Packers. Rick Woods back to receive deep for the Steelers. And Pittsburgh will get good field position out of this. Hits right at the 50-yard line, and look at this. Takes a Steeler bounce. They're going to kill that thing. And with things going back for the Packers, 2:39 left to go in the first half. Let's go to New York, and it's up to much. Well, the Cowboys are really going to have to get on their stick now without Danny White. The Packer defense is going to have to really get on the job now. The Steelers leading 13-0. They have the ball 1st and 10 at the Packer 30. Dropping. Ernest Thompson. There's a flag on the play. Ernest Jackson tackled there by Charles Martin and Randy Scott.
Well, that flag was right there in the interior of the line. Is going to be against Pittsburgh, I believe, but Pittsburgh will take that break. That was an unbelievable punt that wound up being 11 yards long, and it just hit a certain way with the nose kind of downward, and then it just got away from the rest of the Packers.
Holding.
Gary Ellis tried to catch up with it and stop it before it went back to the end zone.
So the Steelers are penalized 10 yards for holding. That puts the ball back at the 40-yard line. And it helps the punt just a little bit. And it gives the Packer defense just a little more breathing room. However, the Steelers are looking to increase their 13-0 lead. Malone goes to Abercrombie. He gets away from Brian Noble. There's a late hit, and a flag is on the play as Abercrombie goes out of bounds at the 26-yard line. There are 2 flags on the play now. One in the backfield of the Steelers, which would indicate holding, and one at the 26-yard line.
We're going to need a couple of closed-door meetings to sort all this out. The first one's against the Steelers. Maybe that was the only one. They were bearing down on Malone in the backfield. They put the blitz on with Tiger Green. Let's just get the call.
Once again, that's referee Chuck Heberly. Now talking to Randy Scott.
Holding. Offense, number 86. 10 yards, first down.
That was against Preston Gothard.
So only 1 penalty on the play in against Pittsburgh. So this mini drive has been plagued quite a bit by penalties.
So after an 11-yard punt by the Packers, 2 penalties against the Steelers, and now they have the ball at their own 49-yard line.
No call on the late hit. It wasn't really a hit him that hard.
Malone with plenty of time going down the field for Calvin Sweeney. Sweeney had Mossy Cade beat, but the pass was just too long. You could see Sweeney then clenching his fist as if to say, oh, if I could have just put it into another gear, I could have had 6.
Well, he might have been able to take a little dive for it. I mean, it seemed like he just reached out and didn't do much else. Take that dive, you might catch the ball. Here are Mark Malone's passing statistics. The last 2 games at the bottom, you can see 62% completion average, whereas it was only 40% the first 4 games, and that was when the Steelers were getting behind. He was trying to do a lot of things, and as you can see, passing yardage today.
Even with the injured thumb, Malone has been doing exceptionally well. It's like a screen. It is. This is Ernest Jackson. Jackson gets hit by John Dorsey.
Tackled by Dorsey.
And with Jackson becoming more of a receiver, we have the 2-minute warning on the field. 1:52 left to other scores around the National Football League. Now the Giants are back on top by 3 over Dallas. Danny White out there with a broken right wrist.
Free play for the Steelers.
Yeah, go ahead and take it. Abercrombie. Good defense then by Green Bay. David Greenwood coming up and making the tackle.
It looked like the Packers had jumped off sides unless they were drawn off sides, but I don't think so. I think it's going to go against Green Bay. And the Steelers were 3rd and 24 going into that place, so now they'll still have a long situation, 3rd and 19.
On a drive that started out at the Packer 30-yard line.
So far it's a backward drive, right?
Yeah.
It's not the way you want to go.
Not at all.
If the Steelers score here, then the Pack's going to be in big trouble. If they, even if it's a field goal, then the Packers would have to score 3 times.
Defense, offside, number 94, 5 yards, 3rd down.
That was against Charles Martin, who's a nose tackle. He's had all kinds of problems this afternoon. He's been offsides. He's had that Steeler offensive line just really going to work on him, as the Steelers have been very successful with their running game.
Ehrenberg is in the game now.
1:45 left to go in the first half. And they like to go to Ehrenberg sometimes out of the backfield. Oh, right off Jesse Britt's shoulder. Contact made by David Greenwood. So Jesse Britt, who's a backup wide receiver, has it come right at him, and he should have caught that. There's no doubt about that.
He was trying to catch his first pass of the season. He should have had the ball, but he drops it actually before the hit.
Okay, so here's Gary Anderson now. He told us yesterday that if everything is consistent and calm, he can hit from 55 to maybe 60 yards. The ball is going to be spotted at the 47-yard line. This will be an attempt of 57 yards. It was long enough, but off to the left. A 57-yard field goal attempt by Gary Anderson is no good.
It was certainly long enough. That could have made it from 60, 65 yards, but it was just a little off target. So Green Bay takes over in pretty good field position, their best of the day.
After that punt that went against them, the Steelers had the ball 1st and 10 at the Packer 30-yard line. Pittsburgh came up and got 2 or 3 penalties against them, and they dodged much
so far as this game is concerned.
Is complete to Philip Epps. Epps trying to get out of bounds, and he can't. The clock is still running. 1:24 left to go in the first half. That is enough yardage for the first down. Harvey Clayton making the tackle for the Steelers. 3 wide receivers in now for Green Bay. And this is really where Randy Wright excels. A 2-minute offense. Throwing downfield. Oh! Almost intercepted. Rick Woods coming over, knocking the ball away from Walter Stanley.
Okay, you can see Walter Stanley is 87, and you can see that Randy Wright, see 87 up the top of your screen, he stopped and then came back. The timing was way off because Wright had to move around in the pocket. Actually, he was open for quite a while before that time, but that happens so much when you can get some pressure on the quarterback. The timing is off.
Just a little over a minute left to go in the first half. Right again. This time he does complete it to Stanley, and Stanley is short of the first down. He's hit there by John Swain. Packers still trying to get on the scoreboard. Now Wright calls for a timeout. NFL today. And those of you in the East will see Mike Ditka, world champion Bears, take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. While those of you in the Wisconsin area will see your Packers host the Washington Redskins. And then everybody in the country will see the Giants take on the Philadelphia Eagles. Buddy Ryan's Eagles trying to get back on track. That all starts next Sunday right here on CBS Sports. Right now, the Giants are beating the Dallas Cowboys 10-7. We talk about tight races. How about that NFC Eastern Division, John, with 3 teams tied for first place?
All with excellent records. Now, the Packers with their chance.
The pass was intended for Eddie Lee Ivory. Ryan Hinkle. Oh, what a great afternoon he's having, along with Harvey Clayton. Knocked the ball away.
Incomplete. 4 down and 2.
It doesn't make any difference what year it has been or what kind of game or the record is for the Steelers. Defensively, they've always played hard and aggressive.
Well, tough-nosed football. It's amazing how the Steeler defense has changed. It used to be the 4-man front and the tough guys, they say, come and get us. Now the Steelers are tough, but they use a lot of different variety of defenses.
On 4th down, the pass again is incomplete.
No, I think he got it.
He got it?
Yeah, Epps got it. It was a great catch. It didn't look like he was going to catch it.
The Steelers were signaling incomplete, and now there's another timeout on the field. The Steelers signaling that it was incomplete. It was a super catch by Philip Epps.
Yeah, somebody got a hand in there and tried to jolt the ball loose, and he hung onto the ball. 85 Epps. Boy, that was thrown right in there among the traffic. How did he ever catch that football?
Because you see it bouncing around there.
John Swain almost knocked it away, but Epps hung on, and now they're in field goal territory. I believe they have 1 timeout left.
What a super catch. And you see Mike Merriweather coming up trying to signal that it was incomplete. However, a great catch then by Philip Epps. That's his 2nd reception for 19 yards this afternoon. Green Bay has 1 more timeout left here in the first half. Not much time left as the Packers trail the Steelers 13-0.
There is absolutely no wind today. Flags are just drooping. And notice Randy Wright, he looks real thick around the waist. He wears his rib pad lower than most quarterbacks. And it makes him look awful bulky. But you notice how he always goes forward in the pocket. When there's pressure, he goes forward in the pocket.
Randy goes forward in the pocket, throws complete to Eddie Lee Ivory, who gets belted.
Oh, he's hurt. John Swain put a hit on him. And his knees were kind of frozen to the ground, and he had no place to absorb it. He really took a hit. It was a super catch by Eddie Lee Ivory, who's become the jack of all trades for Green Bay. Now, the Steelers need to get pressure up the middle more because you can see Wright goes forward. Now, here is Ivory. Went to the inside, then to the outside. Now he goes down right here and then gets hit from both sides, but it was Swain's hit and looked like it might have been his back. It's hard to tell. Oh, you're going to see it right here in your living room right now. The violence of pro football. And it's a legal hit. No question, a legal hit, but it was a tough hit by John Swain. Ivory is up. Eddie Lee Ivory, who has become so valuable as a receiver on 3rd down situations. The points they've scored since he's been in there over the last 4 games, 76 points. The first 4 games, only 32 points. So I'm sure that Forrest Gregg is hoping he's okay. They can get him back in the football game. The Packers definitely in field goal territory would like to get the touchdown if they could.
You only have 21 seconds left to go in the first half, John. Now the Steeler crowd trying to get behind their defense. White goes to Lofton. Lofton trying to get out of bounds in a hurry. And he does. They only use 6 seconds on the clock then. driven out of bounds by Harvey Clayton.
Boy, did you see him turn around for that sideline? He's a thinking man's football player. Hits him right on the dime and wants to save the timeout situation, heads for the sidelines, and it's 2nd down and 4. Of course, the down doesn't make too much difference right now. They're trying to get into the end zone if they can.
Packers are a pretty good football team inside the 20. Eddie Lee Ivory is back in the ball game. Good news for Green Bay. Right, going into the end zone, it's going to be out of bounds. He's just going to throw it right away. Throw it completely away. The nearest Green Bay receiver was James Lofton. So the Steelers
3rd down, 4.
hold, and now Al Del Greco comes in to attempt a field goal and try and get the Packers on the scoreboard for the first time this afternoon. There are only 8 seconds left. This will make the 7th straight quarter that the Steelers have not allowed a touchdown. The ball will be spotted at 24. This will be a 34-yard field goal attempt. So Green Bay finally gets on the scoreboard. 34-yard field goal by Al Del Greco.
You know, the Steelers aren't out of the playoff picture either because of the division. The AFC division, the best record's only 5-3.
So there's the kick. This is Lupe Sanchez. Remember, he fumbled the opening kickoff after going 65 yards, but he holds on to this one. And a little skirmish breaks out on the field. Players from both sides showing some frustration. So Chuck Saunders comes up with the ball then. But that is the end of the first half with the score.
Let's take a look at some of the we're going to look at the halftime statistics for you right after this kickoff as the sun has come out.
And will that mean something good or bad for the Packers or the Steelers? Walter Stanley, 5 yards in the end zone. He decides not to bring it out. And the Packers will take over 1st and 10 at their own 20-yard line. Let's take a look now, John, at the halftime stats.
Turnovers, 2 turnovers for Green Bay, which ended up in 10 points for Pittsburgh. That's been the big difference of this football game. Rushing yardage, 62 for Pittsburgh, 19 for Green Bay. Time of possession, Pittsburgh had that also.
And the quarterback comparisons you see there, just about even. But once again, the biggest turnover this afternoon have been the turnovers. So Randy Wright is back at quarterback with Kenneth Davis and Paul Carruth in the backfield for the Packers. That's Carruth in motion. On 1st down, Wright throws intended for Paul Carruth into and out of his hands, covered there by David Little. Well, Randy Wright's been off all afternoon. That's another pass that was behind his intended receiver.
It could have been more accurate as he goes forward in the pocket again, but Carruth still should have had it. He could have had that ball. It wasn't an easy catch, but it certainly was catchable. To win football games, you got to catch footballs like that.
And that may be one of the reasons why the Packers are 1-7. 3rd quarter just getting underway. Lofton and Phillipette, slide receivers. Dan Ross is the tight end. Kenneth Davis on the draw play. Tackled by Keith Willis.
Well, that play took so long to hit the line of scrimmage, and Willis came in from behind and made the tackle. So the Packers are not hitting there quickly enough.
And they're starting off, it seems like here in the second half, like they're on a treadmill, maybe.
Well, we'll find out right here. 3rd and 11. 3 receivers to one side here, down at the bottom of your screen.
Those receivers, Lofton, Epps, and Walter Stanley, right behind each other. 5 defensive backs in now for Pittsburgh. And have a stealer that jumps off sides. Darrell Sims, number 99, second-year man from Wisconsin.
Ball starts, number 75, offense. 5 yards, 3rd down.
And he was drawn off sides by Ken Rutgers. So Darrell Sims jumped off sides, but Ken Rutgers drew him.
Ken Rutgers has been the Packers' most solid offensive lineman, according to Forrest Gregg. He makes a little mistake there. So now you have a real long third down situation, and they're out of the three receivers on one side.
And Wright gets thrown for the sack. Keith Willis. So that treadmill is not a treadmill, not going anyplace. They're going backwards.
They certainly are. And Keith Willis gets the sack, but they did a little twist in the defensive line, and Willis just bulled his way in, and everybody was there. The whole pocket broke down on the Green Bay Packers that time.
Willis now leads the Steelers in sacks. That's the third Steelers sack this afternoon. Bad snap, almost gets blocked. Merriweather throws breaking down, and now the Steelers are going to get good field position. Rick Woods returning the ball to the Packer 30-yard line. He's tackled by Jeff Shue.
And Bracken was lucky to get that one off, and he was complaining that he was hit afterwards. But of course, once the ball hit the ground like that, he's fair game. As the Steeler rush came in, it took 2 or 3 bounces. He was lucky that it bounced right to him, and the Steelers can hit you. Once that happens, you are fair game. But once again, Pittsburgh Steelers, excellent field position.
A punt of only 32 yards, a return of 8. Ball at the 30. Mark Malone back at quarterback for Pittsburgh. Ernest Jackson in the backfield along with Walter Abercrombie. This is Abercrombie right up the middle. And he fumbles the ball, knocked away by Brian Noble. Ball still loose, and it looks like Mark Lee comes up with it. Mark Lee, number 22, fighting for the ball. Walter Abercrombie, who's had great success running right up the middle like all the rest of the Steelers this afternoon. The ball got knocked away by Brian Noble, and the Packers get it back.
And a good block by Penny as Abercrombie broke off the block, and here comes Noble from behind him, and he's going to strip the ball right there, and out it goes, and the Packers recover it, but it took a little while. That ball was all over there like it had grease all over it, and finally the Packers recover. Bad field position, but they have the ball, and they'll take it.
That's the second or third time this afternoon that the Packers have dodged the bullet and got away without giving up any points. It's Kenneth Davis. Good support on the outside by Brian Hinkle. Hinkle's been all over the field this afternoon.
He certainly has, and that time he saw it coming. Kenneth Davis didn't know where to go. He just kept going towards the sidelines, and Hinkle made the tackle. He's a linebacker that does the job for Pittsburgh and has been called upon with some of the new defenses to cover tight end down the field, a variety of things, and that's not easy. So now the Packers really backed up. If he throws, if Wright throws, he's going to be throwing from his end zone.
The draw play, and they get nowhere. It's Gary Ellis. Mike Merriweather in on the tackle along with Gary Dunn.
And Gary Dunn was the key. He got across the line of scrimmage there and made the first hit. And Dunn has played a good game in there over the nose. And there's Merriweather, who he had 15 sacks back in 1984 and hasn't had so many sacks lately, but he seems to be coming on and off to a little bit of a slow start this year. And look at that Pittsburgh defense. There's not a lot of touchdowns, 7 quarters. And see, the last 20 games he's only had 2 sacks. He had 19 out of 20 prior to that.
They take pride in holding people out of their own end zone. And the Packers need to get a little pride and try to get in and score. Right from the end zone. Throws. Complete to Lofton. Lofton is short of the first down as he gets to the 14-yard line. Tackled by Brian Hinkle again. Hinkle's trying to make a pro this afternoon. So that forces a 4th down situation. Bracken into punt again.
And we have the similar story developing right here. The Steelers are going to have great field position. They'll be probably at least at midfield.
High punt. The ball bounces at the 45. Rick Woods lets it get away. And it is finally down, so the Steelers will take over. 1st and 10. 11:20 to go here in the 3rd period.
Born in 1901. Of course, the Steelers had some rough times in the early years, and then, of course, the glory years of the 70s, and he's hoping that things will turn around, and once again, they will be tough tough champions. And how are the standings shaping up? It's still 5-3 for Cleveland and Cincinnati. Pittsburgh 2-6. And if they win this game, they would be 3-6. And depending on what Cleveland and Cincinnati do, they do have a shot at making the playoffs.
They feel if they can win 4 or 5 games, they'll be right back in it. That's Robert Brown. That's Robert Brown jumping off sides or making first contact.
Encroachment, number 93 on defense. 5 yards, first down.
Okay, Cincinnati leading Detroit 10-7.
First down and 5.
Bengals in first place in the Central Division. Cleveland over Indianapolis. Bernie Kosar has 2 touchdown passes there. They lead 21-3. That in the third quarter. And Miami over Houston 21-0. Houston holding up the cellar in this AFC Central Division. After the penalty, 1st and 5. Here's a toss back to Ernest Jackson. Gets away from Brian Noble, away from Randy Scott. But runs out of bounds as he's forced out there by Ken Stills.
Ernest Jackson with a nice run around in, and that's when you have a big man who can get around the corner. That's a real plus, because the Steelers, when they run their offense, your 2 backs are almost interchangeable, and he's big and heavy, around 220 pounds now, and it's really mainly a bull type of a runner. Well, that time he got around the in and got some extra yards, and that's a real advantage when you have a big back that can do that.
And John, the yardage he picked up was good enough for the first down. Here's Jackson again. Tackled by Brian Noble, and the point you brought up earlier in the ball game about him keeping his feet moving enables him to pick up a couple of yards when he's hit right at the line of scrimmage.
A 3-yard, second down.
A little less than 11 minutes to go here in the third period. Under partly cloudy skies now. When we first started the ball game, it was dark, looked like it might rain, but it hasn't so far. Hit right at the line of scrimmage. Malone was looking right at Abercrombie, who was wide open.
And I believe it was Charles Martin, number 94, who spotted it. He'll come over here, and you watch number 94 reach up right there and bat the ball away. Abercrombie would have been open for about a 6 or 7 yard gain. Mossy Cade was bearing down, but it would have been a successful play. Now we have a 3rd and long, 3rd and about 7.
And the Steelers have 3 wide receivers in. Jesse Britt, Weegie Thompson, and Calvin Sweeney. Sweeney's in motion now. And they swing it out to Abercrombie, who makes an acrobatic catch. Oh, what a good catch that was. Got away from Tim Harris, who had to drag him down from behind. Even though it's short of the first down, it looks like Malone wants to try and talk Chuck Noll into going for it.
And it appears to be about a yard short. So we'll see what the decision is. Mark Malone heading off the field, and they're going to punt as Newsom comes on the field.
And as usual, Chuck Noll has the last word, and his word is the law.
Well, he's never been a big risk taker. He's never had a fancy type of offense. He believes in blocking and tackling. It just goes hand in hand with his philosophy on football. You put the Packers deep in your own territory.
Almost got blocked by Harris. Bounces at the 15-yard line and goes out of bounds. That's where the Packers will take over 1st and 10.
Newsom's kick out of bounds.
All right, next Saturday right here on CBS Sports.
The I have is Pittsburgh's had so many chances to maybe increase the score. They've blown some opportunities, a field position that could cost them.
Now, there was a mix-up. There was a mix-up between Wright and Dan Ross, because it looked like the intended receiver was David Little.
Right, they had that kind of a mix-up last week, and they had an interception by Ronnie Lott when Ross turned one way and Randy Wright threw the other. And this is a case of, you know, a lot of the offenses now, the receivers, as they run downfield, are supposed to read the defense, and they'll turn one way or the other, or certain depth, depending on how the defense is playing. And if the quarterback doesn't read it just like the receiver, you got problems.
And this is the wrong area of the field to have those problems in against the Steelers. 2nd and 10. Kenneth Davis, and he gets tripped up. Good defense there by John Swain. Swain came up from his left cornerback position, took on Ron Holstrom, who's a new father, and made the tackle.
Oh yeah, it was a foot tackle too, but it was accidental. It wasn't. You couldn't. It wasn't really tripping. But you're right. He had to come up and take on those big guards and tackles pulling out there. That's a cornerback's nightmare.
9 minutes left to go in the third period. Packers with 3 receivers at the bottom of the screen. 3 little Indians in a row. Let's see what happens. Complete to Walter Stanley. A flag is down. Stanley has some speed. He gets away from Eric Williams right there, going down the far sideline. Oh, and he's finally dumped. Tackle finally made by Lupe Sanchez, but as we mentioned, there is a flag on the play. Actually, there are 2 flags back at the 21-yard line. That play good for 55 yards.
Well, we have players strung all the way down the field, 50 yards down the field, and officials, so they'll have to sort this one out. But Stanley came up with a nice grab. That was a tough catch. And it looks like it's going against the Steelers, which means it would be declined by Green Bay, and the Packers have a big play.
Holding defense prior to the pass. Penalty will be declined. First down.
And it may have been in the area of Walter Stanley as Chuck Noll wants to figure out what's going on, but Randy Wright finally hits a big play, goes forward in the pocket. I didn't see an infraction there, but as it turns out, it doesn't really make that much difference. Stanley takes off down the field, and the Green Bay is in plus territory.
For one of the few times this afternoon, Stanley has 4 receptions for 89 yards.
Fumble.
Now that's enough to make you want to just go crazy. You get a big break, and your quarterback and your center muff the snap from center.
It must be remembered that Wright has also a sore hand too, and it's not as strong as his pinky is kind of sore, and if the ball hits it wrong, it hurts like heck. So that time they lost the ball, but did maintain possession. As Forrest Gregg will get his reaction, and he's watching, hoping for the touchdown, and he was just lucky that they got the ball back.
If you can read lips, he said, "I can't believe it."
Did you see that? Is that what he said? Well, you do read lips.
I won't tell you what else he said, though. Right, going into the end zone for James Lofton. Defended there by Eric Williams. So Eric Williams trying to cover the All-Pro in Lofton. That time, the pass once again was off.
Yes, he did a good job of getting away from the pass rush that time, and they had to rush the throw, and it was just a little bit overthrown. But the Steelers had the pass rush going that time. They just couldn't put the clamps on Wright, who I'm really impressed. I know he hasn't been throwing well, but I really like the way he moves around and his instinct for the rush. Blitz.
Going for Lofton, almost intercepted. Oh, Eric Williams had his hands on the ball, and if he would have been able to come up with it, he may have gone a long way from his score. But what the Steelers are doing is they're double covering Lofton, knowing that in pressure situations, Green Bay is going to try and go to their All-Pro.
So we're going to have a field goal try.
Al Del Greco already has 1 field goal attempt this afternoon from 34 yards. This one will be about 44 yards. The ball will be spotted at the 33.5-yard line. Partially blocked at the line of scrimmage, it looked like. So the frustration continues for the Packers. Jubilation for the Steelers. They have a 10-point lead. We'll be back. And Pittsburgh has the ball now. 1st and 10 at their own 26-yard line. Malone. Swing pass to Abercrombie, who can't hold on. We are live at Three Rivers Stadium. I'm Jim Hill along with Johnny Morris. And the story of the game this afternoon has been turnovers, as the Steelers lead the Green Bay Packers 13-3. 2 turnovers by the Packers has resulted in 10 points for the Steelers, and 2 turnovers for the Steelers have resulted in 0 points for the Packers.
So we credit the Pittsburgh Steelers defense.
That's it.
You know, they really stopped the Bengals every time they got down close to last week.
And they've held their own this afternoon, limiting the Packers to just 3 points. Malone over the middle. Preston Gothard, the tight end. They've tried to go to him 3 or 4 times this afternoon. Randy Scott and John Dorsey in on the tackle for Green Bay. So Gothard comes out. Jesse Britt and Rich Ehrenberg come in. Ernest Jackson also comes out.
Well, that's the situation for the tight ends around here. Once it gets into a passing situation where you like to catch passes, you go off the ball, off the field. Look at Miami, 28-0 over Houston.
4 touchdown passes for Dan Marino. He's back on track again himself. Toss back to Abercrombie. Abercrombie just gets enough yardage, it looks like, for the first down before he's bumped out of bounds by Ken Stills. Cincinnati and Detroit tied at 10. Look at Cleveland leading Indianapolis. Bernie Kosar, a couple of touchdown passes there. 3 touchdown passes there. Good for Bernie. Philadelphia over St. Louis.
Buddy Ryan's defense, the old 46 defense, doing its job.
Danny White, a broken right wrist, and the Giants lead the Cowboys 10-7 in the third quarter. 6:42 left to go here in the third period. Malone with good time. Pass is complete to Calvin Sweeney. Sweeney beat Mossy Cade, gets enough yardage for the first down in Packer territory.
And that was a picture play because they've been running the ball so much. Mark Malone did a nice job of faking that time. It held everybody frozen, and then he threw the pass right on the dime. Perfect timing. That's the way you're supposed to do it. Mark Malone.
So number 16 in Malone completes a pass for 16 yards and a first down. Malone 13 of 20 for 116 yards so far this afternoon. Abercrombie again up the middle. The defensive line for the Packers just catching heck all day.
Yes, and watch Ray Penny this time as he comes. You'll see the pulling tackle, 65 going through the hole. He couldn't even find anybody to block. The hole was so big, and Abercrombie just played off a Penny and then headed, and he hangs on to the ball this time, didn't he? He saw him coming. He wasn't going to fumble this time.
Look at that. Abercrombie and Jackson as opposed to all of Green Bay offensive-wise this afternoon. And this Jackson picks up 3 or 4 yards. You know, we talked to Mark Malone yesterday. He was talking about Green Bay's defense is as basic a defense as they've seen all year, so they know exactly what to do.
Well, they don't have to make too many adjustments. He didn't figure too many audibles would have to be called, change of plays at the line of scrimmage, because Green Bay does most of the time just line up in that 3-4 defense and do very little shifting. So it makes it a little easier on a quarterback. And Ernest Jackson, he's going to get some more bull yards up the middle, I think.
Malone looking for Weezy Thompson. Oh, what a catch. I guess when you're 6'6" like that, you can make those kinds of catches.
That was a super catch. He beat the zone on that. They had Berry up for the short zone and then a man deep. And you can see they tried to split the zones, and that's what they did. Got it in between the short and the deep man, and it was just a super grab by Ouija's. Papa was named Ouija, and he's named Ouija.
And Ouija is doing it. He has 3 catches this afternoon for a touchdown and 42 yards. On that pass again. Across the middle to Gothard. Gothard double covered there. Tim Harris. Along with John Dorsey. They've gone to their tight end more this afternoon than they have in quite some time.
Well, I think even if you don't make it that much of a success, you throw to the tight end once in a while. I think it keeps the defense honest. That time they had 2 linebackers covering Gothard. Chuck Noll's teams never have not thrown to the tight end too much lately.
Mark Lee has a pulled groin, so that's bad news for Green Bay. That's why Barry's on the line and on the spot. There's Mark Lee on the sidelines. It's 2nd and 9. A 2nd and goal from the 9. There's Luigi Thompson again. Oh, my goodness.
Pittsburgh alley-oop. Luigi Thompson, 6'6", and of course Barry is 5'10". He's got to cover him. Number 20 covering on Luigi, and the pass was just perfect by Maloney. Put it up over, and it's a touchdown for Luigi Thompson.
And another extra point conversion for Gary Anderson. Luigi said the offense wouldn't change because he's starting. Certainly hasn't. As a matter of fact, it's the kickoff goes into the end zone. Walter Stanley downs it there. And Luigi Thompson has to feel real good about his performance. He's put on 10 pounds during the offseason. He's gotten stronger, maybe even a little bit faster.
And he was a little bit on the spot because Louis Lips is such a great football player. And they say, hey, well, he's not as fast as Louis Lips. Well, he's done very well. And, you know, Mark Lee was out of the game there, and he beat Ed Barry with a great catch. But remember, he also beat Mark Lee on the first touchdown. So it's Luigi Thompson's day so far.
And just for some people who couldn't get a seat here at Three River Stadium,
I hope they have binoculars.
They're going to need them, or a telescope from there. First down, Randy Wright, back to pass. It's Gary Ellis out of the backfield. First contact made by David Little. David Little, the brother of Larry Little, who used to play with the San Diego Chargers and the Miami Dolphins.
Green Bay leads this series 16-10, and with exhibition games over the years, 19 games, 19 wins to 10, but the Steelers have won the last 3 that they've played.
Randy Wright got to get his Packers on the scoreboard this particular drive. If not, it's going to be a real uphill battle. Ellis again. Mike Merriweather, first contact made. Coming up and helping him is Rick Woods. The one thing that the Packers don't want to happen now is to have this Steeler defense to come up and hold them, get the crowd behind them, put them in the hole even deeper.
That's true, and this is, as we mentioned at the top of the telecast, this is a big game for both these teams, despite the records. Now, if the Steelers win, if they've got that momentum going for Forrest Gregg, they thought they had some momentum, beating Cleveland, playing San Francisco very tough, should have won that football game, and now they lose this one. It could be all she wrote for the season.
White completes a pass this time to Eddie Lee Ivory, who has the ball ripped away from him by David Little, but it's going to be ruled down.
Well, Ivory's hurt again, too.
Remember earlier, Eddie Lee took a heck of a lick on a reception, and this time David Little really slammed him down to the ground, and it makes you go back and think about the piece at the top of the show on the NFL Today on violence in the league.
Yeah, that was a good hit. I don't think there's anything illegal. He took it and just brought him down. Ooh, he did give him the old neckaroo, didn't he? Eddie Lee Ivory was saying, hey, I don't get banged around so much playing this, coming in on third downs. I catch passes, I don't have to run through the line, so I don't get hurt as much. He might take that statement back after today's action. Boy, did he really gave him the old necktie. He won't need a tie.
And if you talk about, you know, the necktie, remember the last preseason game against Cincinnati, Eddie Lee broke just a couple of small bones in his neck, and he was telling us that he's just starting to feel a heck of a lot better.
Well, this man's not feeling any better.
So while we have a break in the action, next Sunday on CBS, while Ivory is being attended to, Randy Wright has to direct his attention to the Steeler defense. Kind of counterplay there to Ellis. Doesn't fool anybody. Robin Cole in on the tackle, leading the way for the Steelers. One thing about the Steelers, they are a very well-coached team. They know their assignments.
Yes, they do.
They don't fool anybody, and they don't get fooled a lot of times themselves either.
Well, Tony Dungy's done a great job. Here's a coach that's got players on the team older than him. He's only 31 years old. You got to tell these good guys what to do. Donnie Shaw played with him. He's 3 years older than Tony.
Right throw to Walter Stanley. Stanley just gets into Steeler territory. First contact made by Mike Merriweather.
Walter Stanley becoming a part of this Packer offense. As I said, but going into this game, he was averaging 22 yards a catch. He had that long one, and he's caught some other passes. He's 5 for 98, so that's higher than he's averaged. He's got a great average. That's the second highest in the National Football League so far this season.
At the midfield stripe, John. Less than 2 minutes to go here in the third quarter. 20-3 Pittsburgh. Look out, there's the blitz. Hinkle is on, but it's complete to Lofton. He drops it. It's ruled incomplete. How many times will you see James Lofton wide open like that drop a pass?
Not too often, and the Steeler fans are saying, hey, he caught it and came down with his feet and then dropped the ball. In the meantime, Randy Wright was really level after he threw the pass. As the rush comes at Brian Hinkle, comes in on him. Now you're going to take a look at Lofton. Does he come down with his feet? If he comes down with 2 feet in control, it was slinging out. He never had control, so the call was correct. And here is what happened to Randy Wright. Brian Hinkle, 53, takes the beat on him. Wright gets the pass off and then takes the shot.
So Wright has been off in his passing, and when he's been on, the few times he's been on, his receivers have had tough luck holding on.
And James Lofton doesn't drop too many passes, especially when they're important ones.
I would imagine Forrest Gregg is probably saying again, he can't believe that either. Despite his off day this afternoon, Randy Wright in the last 4 or 5 ball games has really come on strong. I mean, you saw him early in the year.
Well, you complete 62% of your passes and you're doing okay. He does have that propensity for the interception once in a while.
1:36 left to go in the third period. Going deep for Philip Epps. Oh! What a valiant effort by the little man. But there's a flag on the play.
Boy, that was a super effort. That's what makes football great. I mean, he took off, and he could have done it was almost like a gymnastics move. I mean, he flew through the air about 5, 6, 7 yards. Right here, just pushes off and takes the dive. And there's where you can get yourself a broken collarbone or something like that. I think he would have hung on to the ball had he not been hit on his way down by Rick Woods.
Illegal use of the hands, number 75 on the offense, 10 yards, second down.
That penalty, once again, against Ken Rutgers.
Well, it becomes a moot point as far as catching the ball. Let's take Rutgers at 75. You can see his block there. So far, it looks legal, but then we can't tell from this angle.
So the Packers are penalized. It's now 2nd and 20 from their own 40. This drive started at the midfield stripe. Flags are down. Looked like a little bit of movement prior to the snap.
Ball start.
Going to go against Green Bay.
5 yards, second down.
That's Ron Hallstrom. Ron Hallstrom was called on that penalty, and Hallstrom feels bad about that, but I'm sure he feels terrific about the fact that he and his wife have just had a new baby. The baby was born at 6 a.m. Friday morning. He was up all night Thursday and made it to practice about 9 o'clock.
He didn't want to get fined. The Steelers are going more and more in this game with the 4-man rush.
And that could mean trouble for Wright. Once again intended for James Lofton, Mike Merriweather defending for Pittsburgh.
Third down.
You know, it's one of the traits in the past that the Steelers have always had is that intimidation factor. And sometimes you think that when things start to go bad, if an offensive unit isn't intimidated. What do you think, Jimmy?
Say that again? What?
Are the Packers intimidated?
I don't think so. I just don't think they're playing that good of football. Pittsburgh's defense is doing very well. The Packers have just abandoned their running game. I mean, I bet they haven't got 20 yards rushing today.
Look out. Picked off by Mike Merriweather. Merriweather laterals the ball back to John Swain. Like we said, Steeler defense and offense well coached.
And it wasn't the greatest pass in the world, a little bit thrown behind, and you'll see Merriweather is number 57, but you can see the pass was way behind. He makes the interception, then laterals to Swain, I believe it was, who got the ball and did the rest of it, as the Steelers defense is just playing back, waiting for the pass now.
Now Malone is going for more. The toss to Ernest Jackson. Jackson hit from behind by Robert Brown and Tiger Green. Oh, John Swain was running along, clapping his hands. He said, "Oh, come on, Mike, throw it to me, throw it to me, lateral it off." Here it is.
There was the pass, a little bit off target, and then Merriweather comes up with the play, and Ellis couldn't make the tackle. And boy, you talk about lateraling on the fly. He was heading for the turf and lateraled the ball off. So the Pittsburgh Steeler defensive day, just like it was last week.
Not a bad offensive performance either. 2 touchdown passes to Weezy Thompson. Steelers leading 20-3. Walter Abercrombie as the Steelers. They try to put it away here. Less than 20 seconds to go in the third quarter. Well, we talked a little while ago about the sun coming out. Well, it came out in favor of the Steelers. It's been bright for them. So as the third period runs out, that is the end of the third quarter. Pittsburgh Steelers leading Green Bay 20-3. Packers have a great tradition, but not much else these days, and that's inspired a song that Green Bay would probably rather not hear. It's called "Where Are You Now, Vince Lombardi?" Forrest Gregg is probably saying, "Where are you now, defense? Hold those Steelers out." Weezy Thompson, bottom of the screen, already has 2 touchdown receptions this afternoon. Malone to the other side. This is Rich Ehrenberg. Ehrenberg tackled by Mossy Cade.
There's a tough guy for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He plays banged up all the time. He has a sore hip right now, and his back is a little bit sore. Got a big pass for him last week, but he's Mr. Dependable in those third down situations.
A lot of people in the past have said that he reminds them, as Ehrenberg, a little bit of Rocky Bleier. Fourth quarter just getting underway. Steelers with a big 20-3 lead over Green Bay and knocking at the door again. 3rd and 1. And it's Jackson. Jackson gets to just about the 10-yard line. Fighting, trying to get the first down. Tackle made by Ben Thomas and Randy Scott.
And he did get the first down.
First down, Pittsburgh ball, Green Bay, 10-yard line.
Ernest Jackson, who, as a matter of fact, could have been picked up by the Packers at one time.
That's right. Forrest Gregg says we weren't the only dumb ones to pass that on.
But I tell you what, that says something about Chuck Noll. Maybe that's one of the reasons why his Steel team has won 4 Super Bowls. Into the end zone for Calvin Sweeney. He's held up by Mossy Cade. looked like an audible at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I think maybe Calvin Sweeney might have missed it because he didn't take off the field. He had Mossy Cade kind of fronting him a little bit. But I didn't see a penalty flag anywhere. They were each pointing at the other guy saying he did it, but it turns out neither one of them did anything wrong.
That's the way it usually is, right? The wide receiver and the defensive back always pointing at each other.
Yeah.
2nd and 10, ball at the 11. Jackson again. This time John Dorsey. We mentioned earlier that the Green Bay linebackers would have a very active afternoon, and man, they've been making all kinds of tackles, but they've had to.
Now Jackson's coming off the field. He's caught some passes, but of course he's not always in on this kind of a situation. But I think he's done well enough that he can think about maybe buying a house in Pittsburgh. I'll take a chance.
Yeah, might as well. I'll talk to the Steelers about buying one for him. The Steelers now have 3 wide receivers in the game. Jesse Britt, Calvin Sweeney, and Weegie Thompson. Malone all the time throws.
Oh, what a
Weegie
catch.
Thompson touchdown.
What a catch by Weegie Thompson, number 87. That ball was a foot off the ground. He had to reach out for it, and it was like glue fingers. He just took the ball in, was right down on the goal line. He is having a fantastic afternoon.
So Weegie Thompson has come up with the hat trick, and we'll return to Three River Stadium in Pittsburgh after this word. So Gary Anderson all set to kick off now for the Steelers. Going into the corner where Kenneth Davis takes it 2 yards deep in the end zone, and he's going to come out. Gets about the 17, 18-yard line. No, John, with the score now, 27-3, the question comes to mind, probably for Forrest Gregg, after 2 good weeks of playing football, beating Cleveland and should have beat San Francisco. How does he read this team now?
Well, he's made a lot of changes, cut some of his veterans, and he's made 22 roster changes since the beginning of the season. Said he's rebuilding. Well, he's going through the tough times of rebuilding, and you can't see too much for the rest of this year, and just try and get down to the basics and see what he's got and go for next year. But it is going to be a tough rebuilding year now.
He told us yesterday he was happy with the personnel he has, but he can't be happy with their performance today. Here's Ellison. Ellis gets to the 20-yard line. Gary Dunn making the tackle for Pittsburgh. Weegie Thompson, 5 receptions, 58 yards, the hat trick.
Now you can see it from behind the quarterback, and you can see how low it was. He comes in and then dips back to the outside, and that's a very, very tough catch. You got to have glue on your fingers. I wonder if he's got some secret stickum on there.
Or a few years ago, there were a couple of people wearing tacks on their hands. Remember that?
Yeah, and a lot of them wear gloves now, and
whatever works.
Yeah.
If it's legal. This is Kenneth Davis on the tossback. Davis gets across the 25-yard line. Eric Williams in on the tackle. Down 27-3. Hello. Halloween still is being celebrated here.
Well, he's leaving. That must be a Packer fan.
Trying to get out unnoticed. He's ashamed of himself and the way the Packers have been playing.
What if that's a pretty lady underneath there? We're really...
Well, if it is, remember, you said it first.
Well, that's a good question. When it becomes 27-3, then you got to wonder. They abandoned it when it was, 13-3. They kind of abandoned the running. Now they're going back. I don't know what Forrest Gregg is thinking.
Team rushing this afternoon, the Packers 27, Steelers 119. That's Bracken's punt. Here's Rick Woods again. Bobbles the ball at the 12. 3 flags are down. That's a good run back. Wood gets up to the 30-yard line.
I got a hunch it's going to be against Pittsburgh, though.
60-yard punt. We haven't had any rain, but there were a shower of flags on that play. Referee Chuck Heberling now sorting everything out. 2.5 minutes left to go in the ball game. And I'm sure that Forrest Gregg and the Packers would like to run this clock non-stop right now.
Now, if the Steelers win this game, they'll be 3-6. Cincinnati is having a tough game. They could wind up at 5-4 if they lose. Cleveland would be 6-3. They're way ahead, so the Steelers will still be 3 games out. Chuck Noll, the third active winningest coach in the NFL. His first season was 1-13. Remember that way back in 69?
Illegal block in the back above the waist on the return. Number 27, half the distance, first down.
So with 10.5 minutes left to go in the ball game, Chuck Noll wants to know what's going on. We'll find out when we return.
Looking out for number one. Looking out for number one.
Toyota, looking out for you with the Toyota 4x4 Turbo. The only gas turbo. The turbo tough enough to take you where you want to go.
Looking out for number one.
Looking out for you has made Toyota #1 in compact truck sales and #1 in truck satisfaction. Who could ask for anything?
Furious. Chuck Heberling has just called an illegal block in the back. At first he said it was number 27. There is no number 27 on the Pittsburgh Steelers roster. Then Chuck Heberling came back and said they did not have the number of the player who was called for the penalty, but the penalty would stand. Now, you know that does not sit well with Noel.
No, he wants to know who the culprit is, if there was a culprit. But he's ahead 27-3. Not too big of a sweat right now.
Yeah, but still, though.
You know, it's principle, right?
Yeah, when you call a penalty, you should know who it's called on.
Well,
I had enough calls on me a few times. So
well, you should have. I saw some of those. I'm just teasing.
Get the knife out of my back, will you?
You know, you think they're arguing about the game. They're talking about where they're going to meet and have dinner tonight.
Or they're talking about Chuck Noll's boat that he's pouring a lot of money into. It's one of his hobbies these days.
Anyway, Pittsburgh's going to have the ball, and it's kind of interesting. If you take a look at Mark Malone's statistics, he is 18 of 27 for 167 yards, 3 touchdown passes. He had a couple of touchdown passes last week also. And so, and here is another number. All-time active career wins. Chuck Noll, this would be 166. Places him third.
You talked about the Steelers making a good run at it. Well, after today's game with Green Bay, they go to Buffalo. They have the Oilers here. There's revenge in their minds as they go to Cleveland because the Browns beat them here earlier. But then trouble lurks as they have to take on the Bears.
The monsters of the mid-range.
Still 10 minutes and 29 seconds left to go in the ball game. The clock's been stuck at 10:29 for the last 10:29. Well, the Giants increasing their lead over the Cowboys, 17-7. Cowboy quarterback Danny White is out with a broken right wrist in that ball game.
Okay, when I was talking about the statistics of Mark Malone, how impressive they are, you can see when they get the rushing game. Last week they got the rushing game going. They'd run pretty well. They'd throw more conservative type of passes, and Mark Malone becomes a better quarterback. You know, it's just goes hand in hand. If he doesn't have to throw, at the beginning of the season he was having to try and throw down the field, and he had bad statistics, and everybody was hitting on him. He was trying to do more than his abilities warranted. Now he's in the mode of what makes him tick, and if they can run the ball like that, complete those short passes, come up with good catches, Mark Malone's going to be a lot better quarterback.
Looking like Tom Selleck. Meanwhile, next Sunday on CBS Sports, a doubleheader starts with the NFL today. And those of you in the East will see Mike Ditka and the Chicago Bears take on Tampa Bay, while those of you in Wisconsin will see the Packers hosting the Washington Redskins. Then in Game 2, for viewers in the East, it'll be Joe Morris and the New York Giants against Buddy Ryan's Philadelphia Eagles. It all starts next Sunday right here on CBS Sports.
The officials are still huddled together down on the field, all of them.
And while we're waiting, the to find out what Chuck Heberling and the rest of his officials are doing. Let's go to Brent Musburger in New York.
Giants and the Cowboys. It was Joe Morris scoring for the second time for the Giants. And what an afternoon he's having against the Cowboys. He's rushed for 169 yards, and the Giants open up daylight. They lead by 10. Back to Jim.
After a thorough review, there is no foul on the play. The ball will be placed at the end of the run. First and 10.
Well, apparently they went to the instant replay to see if they could find the number, and then they didn't find the foul, and now they negated the call, and that's why he got a tremendous ovation. Tremendous ovation from Pittsburgh Steelers fans. You ever seen the official cheered like that?
You think Chuck Noll got to them?
So Chuck Noll had a point, didn't he?
Yeah. Outside of Ouija Thompson, especially his third touchdown reception this afternoon, that's been the most drama of the afternoon, I would imagine.
Okay, Pittsburgh now going to try and control the ball, eat up the clock, and cement this victory.
Okay, we still have 10:29 left. It's been like that for a long time. Inside handoff to Ernest Jackson. Tackle made by Charles Martin.
Dorsey and Martin.
Ouija Thompson. In a rare starting appearance. 3 touchdown catches from Mark Malone this afternoon. And, oh, I'm telling you.
Second down.
You have to act. You know what it's like to be in that spot where you have 3 touchdown receptions in an afternoon.
I never did it.
You never did?
Well, I caught 2.
Well, okay, then 2.
Guys, never 3.
Okay, 2. Here's Abercrombie. That's Tim Harris trying to bulldog him down.
Tackled by Harris.
We talked about Ouija Thompson, and he really has been the big man. He's been the story of the afternoon. Here's his first touchdown, John.
This was a great move inside of Mark Lee and just went up the field, and Malone hit him right on the button for the touchdown. So that's one kind of move where he had to shake the cornerback right up at the line of scrimmage. And we'll show you the other one in a moment.
Just to show you that he wasn't really picking on Mark Lee, just anyone in the opposite color jersey. Draw play to Abercrombie. Now how about Ouija's? I guess this is his most spectacular catch.
Well, it's the second and third one. Both are pretty spectacular. This was, you got to give Mark Malone a lot of credit on that one, because he put the ball up and over out because he was well covered by Berry. Just that Berry was too short and couldn't get to the ball.
All right, Ouija from Florida State. First and 10. Abercrombie getting a good workout, but he's tackled from behind by Brian Noble. The ball pops loose, but the officials rule that the play was dead. So Brian Noble, who's been one of the few bright spots, I guess you could say, for the Packers today, he's forced 1 fumble.
Loss of 2 yards. Second down. 12.
Tim Harris has been put in the starting lineup the last few weeks for Jeff Shue, and he likes to do a lot of talking, he says, to the opposition. Maybe he's been talking to himself today?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll watch him on this play because, you know, he says he doesn't like sports.
If that's the case, he doesn't like this game, that's for sure. Malone. I don't even have to tell you who he threw it to, do I?
Under complete control, the ball was right there. He had to maintain his footing, get both feet in bounds, just reached up. I mean, that's what professional football was all about. I mean, knowing how you're supposed to do it.
Oh, Ouija will be the star of all the TV shows tonight with his highlights. Nice gentleman, down to earth, hard worker, 3 touchdown passes this afternoon. This is Abercrombie again on a draw.
Abercrombie.
There's Noble.
You're right about Noble. He's the one guy who has really played a good football game for Green Bay and an inspired football game.
Lost 2 yards.
But you know, it's interesting, Louis Lips, when he gets well, what about Ouija Thompson? I mean, how are they going to handle him?
It's a great spot to be in, I would imagine. Yeah,
you got Stallworth getting well.
You got to get Lips back in the starting lineup. Oh, you talk about instant offense, and there's John Stallworth standing next to him. Both those gentlemen are very happy that the Steelers are playing well, but they wish they could be in there. Malone. Ouija gets crushed. That was David Greenwood, along with Ken Stills and Gary Hayes back defending for Green Bay.
Well, he got a hold of him right there when he was stretched out there, and Greenwood really put a shot into the back of Ouija's in the backside.
So it's now 3rd down and about 12. A little more than 7 minutes left to go in the game. The game right now, as far as most fans are concerned, is over. But we have a super post-game show coming up for you with all the scores and highlights. Now it looks like Malone sees something that he doesn't like. I don't know what it could be. He's up 27-3. We'll be right. He wants to get back in action real soon. Malone, plenty of time. Oh! That's Calvin Sweeney. All right, after that interception, or rather incompletion, let's go to Brent Musburg in New York.
So Jim, the Dallas Cowboys come back. They burn the giant blitz. Tony Dorsett runs right past the linebacker. 23 yards for the score. Giants lead trimmed to 3. Back to Jim Hill.
Okay, Brent, thank you very much. It's good to see Tony Dorsett back in action. He and, oh, I'm telling you, the Cowboy running tandem is really something. Harry Newsom on a fine, high punt. Goes into and out of the end zone. And so the Packers will take over 1st and 10. Ball at the 20-yard line.
1st and 10, Green Bay ball, their own 20-yard line.
A little while ago, you heard a little music vignette about Where Are You Now, Vince Lombardi. Well, this is what the Packer head coaches have done since Lombardi. And I must say, really, the only truly bright spot was in 1972 when the Packers won the Central Division Championship. Coached by Dan Devine.
That's right, and Jim Hill, you were a member of that team.
That's right.
You remember those days,
Absolutely. Huh? One of the few good years I had in the league. Chuck Fusina is now in at quarterback for Randy Wright. And he bobbles a snap from center. Well, that's typical. Might as well smile for us.
This play is coming from Forrest Gregg. He sent this play in as Paul Caruth comes in, and now they're going to get a look at Chuck Fusina, who hasn't had much action. He was in for a few plays last week. But Randy Wright goes out of the game. He was 15 of 31, 180 yards. 1 interception. Seems like more. Only 1 interception?
Yeah. All the other bad things that have happened to the Packers this afternoon. That was just one of the many. Here's Ellerson. 6:22 left to go in the ball game.
Taken out of bounds by Willis.
And I'm sure a lot of people are wondering what's next for the Packers. What direction will they go into? What will Forrest Gregg have to say after 2 good outings and telling everyone that he was pleased with the personnel that he had? On a bad day, you talk about a tough day at the office. That's exactly what it was for Randy Wright. Green Bay only had 28 yards of rushing this afternoon. That's embarrassing. Inside handoff to Gary Ellis. On a 3rd and 9 situation,
Boy,
I could just hear the folks back in Green Bay booing now.
Well, it seems like they're just trying to get the game over with now. I'd like to see Chuck Fusina throwing the football. I mean, let's get a good look at him. He hasn't played all that much.
How about this? New Orleans is upsetting San Francisco. The 49ers having quarterback problems in the 4th quarter. New England over Atlanta. They still can't get a lot of points on the scoreboard. Here's the punt by Don Bracken. Rick Woods at the 30. Oh. So the Packers will take over 1st and 10 from their own 42 on the Washington Redskins, and it all starts with the NFL today. That's the doubleheader game, and then all of you will see the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles. And today, the Eagles are defeating the St. Louis Cardinals 10-7, and the Giants behind Joe Morris are leading the Dallas Cowboys, who are without quarterback Danny White, 17-14. Now, this telecast is presented by the authority of the National Football League and is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Pittsburgh Steelers and the National Football League is prohibited. John, you had a question about Forrest Gregg's...
Well, we know he sent in that play, Jim, and it was a 3rd and 9 situation, and they did a little run on it, and it just, to me, it's... I mean, you got to try. You got to throw the ball and just see what you can do. I think just for the confidence of the team, at least we're trying to win the game. I just don't think that was what you call psychologically the best thing to do. It's my opinion.
And you have some good ones. 45, Chuck Sanders in now for the Steelers at a running back position. Mossy Cade came up to make the tackle. So we have Chuck Sanders and Dan Reeder. Sanders, a rookie from Slippery Rock. Dan Reeder, first-year man from Delaware. How about this? AFC Central Division. Cincinnati and Detroit tied at 17. Cleveland's going to win. Bernie Kosar doing a good job. 3 touchdown passes there. Houston's going to lose. Dan Marino, 4 touchdown passes there. This is Dan Reeder. Now in the AFC Central Division, I think we're safe in assuming that the Steelers are going to win today. Cleveland will probably go to 6-3. You see that? The Steelers, as we mentioned, because this is not a real strong division, they put 3 or 4 games together with victories, and they're right back in it.
Well, it's key for them what Cincinnati does today, because if you're trailing 2 teams that have 6-3 records, it's a little tougher than if you're trailing, one team. It's going to be a tough battle, but at least they're playing good and much better football.
Malone still at quarterback and trying to pass. And he does. A screen to Chuck Sanders. Sanders driven down by Tim Harris.
It's ironic. The Packers are running. They're behind. The Steelers are throwing, and they're way ahead.
I know. Talk about just the opposite of what you would think each coach is going to do. How about that smile on Malone's face? Well, he has a lot to smile about, because there was a time when people were, booing him and wanted to run him out of town, and took a TV station here took a poll, and he lost the poll.
His own TV station.
Oh, gee. Here's Harry Newsom's punt. Stanley lets the ball bounce at the 16, and it goes out of bounds. There's a timeout. Again, Chuck Fusina replacing Randy Wright. Now the Packers start to pass. And it's complete to Ellis. And he gets tattooed by several Pittsburgh Steelers. Led there by Mike Merriweather, the 2-time All-Pro.
The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to play Buffalo, I believe, next week, aren't they? They're going to play Buffalo. And look at Mark Malone's statistics. 20 for 31, 195 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2nd game without an interception.
Yeah, I think Malone would win the poll hands down now in the quarterback poll here in the city of Steel. Oh, look at Kenneth Davis. Nice little move. Finally getting out of bounds at the 37-yard line, driven out by Harvey Clayton. Let's go back a little bit. John, we laughed about it, but I'm sure it hurt Mark Malone for his own TV station to take a poll on who was the best quarterback here in Pittsburgh, and for him to lose it.
Well, you got to get the ratings. That's the television business. He's in a public domain now, and you're going to have to take the flack along with the good things. And good things are now. We do have to keep in perspective that they're playing the Green Bay Packers, and they're not the best team in the NFL. And Mark Malone's going to have some tests against some better teams, and we'll see how that goes.
Here's Fusina on 1st down again. Into and out of the hands of Ellis. Defended there by Dory Elder and also Dennis Dirt Winston.
This game has slowed down considerably in the last few minutes. but at least the Packers are throwing the ball. We'll get a chance to do some judgments on Chuck Fusina.
Yeah, a lot of people are, really interested. And, of course, the quarterback situation in Green Bay will come under the media microscope now.
I'll tell you what I think the key to the quarterback situation is in just a moment after this play.
All right. This is Davis. He gets to the 47. The play is over. Now, Mr. Morris.
Well, Randy Wright's got some potential. He's making some mistakes. He's young, and they're going with him. But every team has a quarterback evolution, you might say. You have your generations of quarterback, and where the Packers messed up was on the Rich Campbell deal when they had a #1 draft choice. If the choice had worked out, they would have a quarterback now that would be a #1 quarterback and doing well. Well, that thing didn't work out at all, and so their evolution of quarterback system was thrown right out of whack, and then they had to make trades and this and that, and so they find themselves in problems. So it goes to show you make a mistake in your scouting, and
you pay for it. As Davis trying to get to the outside on 3rd down, picks up enough yardage for the 1st down, and that is the 2-minute warning. 1:55 left to go in the ball game, and it couldn't end fast enough for the Packers. We'll be back. You think they are
getting home for the post-game show?
That's it.
You said.
Yeah. They feel pretty secure about this Steeler victory. Fusina on the play-action pass. That's Ellis. He bounces off one defender. And he's finally tackled by Dennis Winston and Donnie Elder. And there is a flag on the field. There's a flag on the field about the 46-yard line.
Unnecessary roughness, number 92. 15 yards at the end of the play.
That was against Keith Gary. John, I've known Forrest Gregg for a long time, and I had the opportunity to play for him one year. He's smiling now, but I tell you what, I wouldn't want to be on the plane with him going back to Green Bay for anything in the world.
Well, you've never been on a plane with George Halas.
Well, I'm that old, so that's you mean it was rough with him?
Oh, boy, I tell you, I used to not make the plane and pay my own way home, so I didn't have to go to the plane.
I imagine some of the Packers would feel the same way. There's Caruth out of the backfield. Yeah, I remember my last year in the league. I was playing for Forrest. He was coaching the Cleveland Browns in, and we were in Houston, and we really embarrassed ourselves. And so after the game was over, we were in the locker room, and he was really giving it to us. He was saying, "I'll get you in minicamp." He was already thinking about next year. He said, "I'm going to get you, and I'll get you, and I'll get you in minicamp." And I was standing over in the corner, and I said, "Yeah, Forrest, you may get them, but you're not getting me. I'm retiring." That was it for me. I had enough.
And that was it, huh?
Absolutely. But I tell you, he lets you know exactly how he feels. And they're going to find out about it in about 1 minute and 7 seconds. He's not happy at all. That's Fusina, and it's intercepted. Harvey Clayton. And this game is almost over in about 59 seconds. But here is our first time of the afternoon. Dan Marino, 4 touchdown passes, and Miami defeats the Houston Oilers 28-7.
And, it's kind of nice to see Harvey Clayton make an interception. He's taken a lot of flack for his coverage. Well, that time he was on the coverage. As you look at the 4th quarter score there between Cincinnati and Detroit, 4th quarter still tied. Cleveland 24-9 over Indianapolis. That's not a final yet.
And the Central Division standings are really going to tighten up just a little bit, especially at the top with Cincinnati and Cleveland. Then there's Pittsburgh lurking in the bushes. Malone goes down. As the clock winds down. And the fans here in Pittsburgh are going to be extremely happy for the 115th time. Cincinnati has just gone ahead. For the 115th time, the Three River Stadium here was sold out, over 59,000 fans. See the Steelers win their 2nd straight.
Well, it's the first time they've won their 2nd straight, 2 in a row, I believe, since last year.
Yeah. And, my friends, that should do it. Mercifully, for the Packers, it is over, at least for this game. Happiness for Chuck Noll, who just waves over to Forrest Gregg. Noel feeling real good about the way his team played this afternoon. They needed a good